pick up your kaiju figures at Big Bad Toy Store at the link in the description.
Kaiju, Dragon Ball, Pokemon, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews.
Hey there, collectors, it's Steven here, and I'm back with that rather interesting series, which is not Figure Fight. It's Diet Figure Fight. Yep, because I wanted to compare figures that don't quite qualify for Figure Fight because folks want them. And who can say no to giving the fans what they want, right? Right. It's going to be fun. Today we're going to be taking a look at Biogoji. So for today's comparison, what we have here are figures that are not trying to do the same thing, but folks want to see a comparison. On the left, we have the NECA Godzilla 1989, and on the right, we have the SH MonsterArts Kyouku Godzilla 1989. So how are these figures not trying to do the same thing? I think that's where I kind of want to open up Diet Figure Fights at, so this way you can understand why they don't really qualify for a figure fight. Here on the left, the NECA. This is aiming to be a 6-inch scale action figure. We have the basic features. That's pretty straightforward what it's trying to be. Here for the MonsterArts Kyouku, we have something that is meant to be in a larger scale format, so not trying to do the same thing. And this has a whole bunch of other gimmicky features that sort of hinder the ability to be an action figure, and because of that, they're not really trying to do the same thing. This one's sort of aiming more so towards the larger scale X Plus fans with, you know, the light up gimmicks and so forth. This one, straightforward to the action figure. So that's why they're not comparable. But for this Diet Figure Fight, we're just going to be taking a look at some things that, you know, are comparable and see, hey, which one maybe would you be interested in purchasing? Now, speaking of purchasing, let's talk about how much they cost at MSRP, because at MSRP, that sort of gives us a good framing for what, you know, to expect went into these figures, because this guy on the right, he can go as high as 400 bucks, okay? And this was definitely not marketed as a figure you're going to get $400 out of. Okay, so that's not fair. And when this video goes up, who knows? Maybe the aftermarket will tank, and maybe it'll go even higher 3 years from now. So it's not fair to say what the aftermarket is at the time of any sort of video, except to say the prices are kind of outrageous. You can reference that aftermarket prices shot up, but anyway. So pricing, what are we looking at? Well, the NECA here, you're looking to top out at about 25 bucks. Some places, you know, you may find it a little bit more expensive, but generally speaking, you're looking at 25. NECA really never sets a concrete MSRP. That's just how they do. Now, for the MonsterArts Kyouku, prices at MSRP, generally Tamashii Nations, well, because they're a Japanese company, they're going to set prices in Japanese yen. But for US, you're looking at about 190 bucks. So that right there is a huge price difference, okay? So with that being said, price-wise, you're going to want to go for the NECA. Now, do we talk about accessories, articulation, paint? What are we going to talk about? Because we're going to save sizing for, well, you'll see. Well, I think right now, let's go ahead and talk about the accessories. I think that'll be fun, because I like showing off some of these gimmicks. Now, for the NECA, what do we have? We have this beam, which is really cool. So it just kind of plugs into his mouth, very easy to use. Now, for some of the beams that, you know, some figures may come with, droopage over time is definitely something to worry about. For this one, I honestly don't think that would be so much of an issue. I feel like the neck, the head area is actually pretty sturdy, but one of the issues is that he can't really sort of fire his beam straight. It's always sort of at a downward angle. Pet peeve of mine, maybe it'd be the same for you, maybe not. On a different note, this would be perfect for a red spiral ray. All right, okay. Now that that's out of the way, we have the MonsterArts. Well, yeah, that fell out. That's user error. It normally stays in just fine. MonsterArts Kyouku. So what does that mean? Well, easy to put this as, some folks, instead of trying to pronounce Japanese, light, sound, music. So, this Godzilla comes equipped with a couple of roars, a couple of different background musics, BGM, and comes with a light up feature. All of which I think were handled very poorly, because there is only one master button to get it all working. It's not working right now because I have it set to the off switch. I did highlight this in my review. Admittedly, before I really knew how to work my camera, so I will fault myself for maybe not display or portraying it as accurately as I could have. But it's still not as good as it should have been. Let me just let a roar go there. So here's the light setup so you can see how that looks. So you separate Godzilla at the midsection, and then you try to reconnect him. And I would advise, since there is that on-off switch, to actually turn your Godzilla off. For those of you who caught the Terror of Cyber Kaiju, that's the recent event that a whole bunch of us Kaiju tubers did, you will see that if you do not turn the figure off, the batteries go dead, the button doesn't work. So we have a whole bunch of different roars, a few, not a whole bunch, different background background music pieces, and some light up effects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my microphone off of its stand. So my audio is going to kind of go a little wonky. You're not really going to be able to hear me too well. And we're going to put it right up to Godzilla here. And we're going to listen. You get to see my microphone as well. Not yet, Godzilla. So he's being a pain. Well, you can see he's being finicky. There we go. I forgot that he also has stomping sound effects. Okay. So you hit and hold the button to get the effect to stop. I forgot the pattern here. Okay, let's see if we can get some lights now. Okay, so there's that for the lights. So focus is probably not the best since I'm doing this in effectively the dark. Ah! Ah! I'm doing this off of memory. So there's that one again. You can see it a bit better. Come on. It's two different. Full hours, two. No, concern here is I'm actually pressing a button. And nothing is really happening on every button press. Like it should be. There we go. So he goes through that as well, which is pretty cool. All right, so we'll stop that. So yeah, so just to kind of reiterate, maybe we'll show you one in the daytime. Yeah, under normal light circumstances, it's kind of not there. But yeah, so my Kyouku Biogoji kind of seems like the button isn't really working too well, and you can kind of see my fingertip. Yeah, it's kind of got eaten up there by that dorsal plate. So yeah, time hasn't been the best. I do remember it being much more responsive, but you know, aside from the initial review, I haven't really used it in a few years, and this guy's a few years old. So accessories. This is another thing that kind of warrants it to not be a traditional figure fight. We have effectively tomato here. What's cooler? This is cooler, but it's not executed the best. They definitely should have just done a constant light up and a selectable roar feature. They could have absolutely used 1 roar, 2 roar, 3 roar, and then they could have used this, turn the light on and off. And then for background music, they could have just nixed it. They didn't have to put it in there at all, I think. But the beam effect, that is an actual accessory, and it works pretty well. So in regards to the overall execution, I think the beam effect is much better. I like that more. But if I had to pick between one or the other as it stands, I actually like the beam effect more. Yeah, I know, kind of crazy. So it is what it is. It is what it is. Now let's talk about articulation here, because we're dealing with two different beasts. So let me show you the action figure and then the sort of action figure here, and I think you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about here. So for NECA's creation, we have a hinged jaw, a ball joint where the head plugs into the neck, another ball joint where the neck plugs into the shoulders. We do have, what do we have here? Swivel hinge combo for the shoulders so we can spin the arm around. Then we do have hinge and swivel at the elbow. So no true bicep swivel, but it works. We do have swivels and hinge at the wrist, which mine, for whatever reason, doesn't want to give a whole lot of movement, but it works. Hinge fingers, ball joint at the ab crunch. Plenty of movement there. We have ball jointed hips. Watch, that's about the point where they're going to pop out there. Pretty good movement. Hinge at the knees, along with swivels, but it doesn't really want to swivel too much. But once you turn it, I'm forcing it. It don't want to move too much on me further than that, or farther than that. But if you really force it, oh, I'm afraid I'm twisting the plastic, not gonna lie. Ball jointed ankles, you can see I'm kind of stressing them there, but the legs don't really warrant ankle rockers. But hey, you know, we kind of get them. And then we have a really well ball jointed tail that's very snake-like, serpentine. Look at that. Touch his head. Very cool. Great articulation there. Here, for Biogoji, hinge jaw, ball jointed neck movement, so we can look around. which is rather impressive considering there are lights in there. Ball jointed shoulders, which popped out. Huh. That's the first time that happened on me, I think. Not gonna lie, I was kind of scared that I broke the socket, but I did not. Huh, first time for everything, I suppose. I'll plug back in with ease. Bicep swivel. Spin that around. Hinge elbows, which also have little bits of swivel in there. Swivel at the forearm. Ball jointed wrists. Very nice. We do have a hinge and swivel at the waist, but that's more of a plug to get this in so we can pop it out, also to turn it on and off. Ball jointed hips, which this one's a little bit loose on mine. You can see this floaty bit to block folks from seeing in. But that's about our range of movement there. Hinge knees, double hinge to be exact. We have fantastically ball jointed ankles to really get ankle rocker movement there. Little better than the NECA. And the tail is going to give us some movement there. The tip over here likes to pop off on mine whenever I put it on the shelf. Whenever I pull it down for size comparisons. But it's not as good as the NECA. So from what I can say, it really does seem like these two are rather similar. In comparison here. But in reality, at the end of the day, the NECA is going to take the cake in regards to articulation. So far here, we're pretty much 3-0 in regards to a scorecard, if we were to have one. So we can kind of already see where the NECA is going to be winning the game. So spoilers, but it's still worth continuing on and seeing what else we have. So what do we have here? Well, let's take a look at the looks. And we can do this, I think, relatively quick. Biogoji was sculpted by Yuji Sakai. And oh boy, does it look amazing. This large scale format figure, basically 1-to-1. I mean, it perfectly captures Godzilla 89. I mean, whenever I look at this thing up on the shelf, which is one of the reasons why I actually don't have it put away. It's a perfect rendition, I would argue, of that suit. I believe Trevor Grove is his name. Sculpted NECA's 89. And for the most part, he did a great job. And I say for the most part, he did a great job because I don't feel like the head sculpt is really all there. Good, but not quite all the way. Not quite all the way. Could have done a better job. But otherwise, you know, great. I think the paint on the dorsal plates for the MonsterArts Kyouku is good. Fantastic, I would argue. As we continue down. Everywhere but these smaller plates. Let me back it up. You can see perfectly what I'm talking about right here. There is not so good. Whereas the NECA, it's relatively consistent throughout except for the smaller plates. So pretty similar, you know, where they both failed, they both failed. So honestly, it's someone who has been dabbling with sculpting Godzilla to some capacity since the 90s. Let's go ahead and make it look a little better for the other guy versus someone who is a very, very well-trained sculptor, but doesn't have the same training for this material and this particular character. So sculpt and paint, we got to give it to the MonsterArts Kyouku here. Now, the final comparison, scale. Alrighty, folks, this is it, the scale portion of the vidya. And, well, you know, we're kind of at a point of disappointment here. Let's talk about why. Well, there's only one Biollante action figure on the market, and that's going to be the MonsterArts Biollante here. Well, there will soon be two. There's a special color version. Do you want me to review that? Comment down below. Anyway, yeah, the MonsterArts Biollante, which unfortunately, hold your horses after I say this, does not have an in-scale action figure Godzilla 1989 counterpart. The MonsterArts Kyouku, see, even I screw up from time to time, is way too big. That's what I'm going to talk about in a second. And the NECA Biogoji, they're both too big. The MonsterArts Kyouku is just way too big. Like, it's taller than Biollante, as you can see. Even just a default Heisei Godzilla. The MonsterArts 95 birth version, as you can see there, it's too big. So, yeah, so neither of these are going to fit with Biollante. Now, in regards to scale Godzillas, this is going to be too big, but for 6-inch scale, the NECA 89 fits in just perfectly fine with your average 6-inch display. So what that means is if you want all your Godzillas to be at 6-inch standing shoulder to shoulder, this is going to be just fine. You have no concerns there. Now, something of interest, why I have Ghidorah here, who's going to stand in for a normal Heisei era Ghidorah, because you can pick one of those up in the SH MonsterArts line. There are a lot of folks who just interchange the 89 and the 91 suits. That's fair. As a matter of fact, I would argue the same. This one actually does blend in relatively well with a King Ghidorah 6-inch scale action figure in the SH MonsterArts line, which this one is pretty much going to be the same size as. So with that being said, if we were to say standard scale for your Godzilla figures, 6-inch, let's say, a lot of collectors do that, the NECA's going to win there. There's no Biollante these guys scale with. If you were thinking the 25 centimeter X Plus for this one, it doesn't. I've seen plenty of pictures. The X Plus is too big. And then if you wanted a King Ghidorah because you use the 89 and 91 interchangeably, that's going to be too big for you. Whereas that's going to be basically just perfect because after the 89 movie in 91, Godzilla, which the continuity is just fine, it's still canon, grows 20 meters and it fits just as fine. So, in regards to articulation, accessories, in regards to scale and price, NECA. Looks, SH MonsterArts Kyouku. Now, I hope that helps you make up your mind. I hope you enjoyed this comparison video. With that being said, let's look at something here real quick. Here's the time in Japan. In literally 36 minutes, Tamashii Nations, who makes the SH MonsterArts line, will be opening the virtual doors to Tamashii Nation 2020. Okay? So what that means is recently they have teased another Godzilla 89 figure, particularly with the special color version of this. So we can assume it's going to be a proper SH MonsterArts Biogoji. Whether it's going to be a 6-inch one or one properly in scale with this, we don't know. So, please do not comment that, hey, you can do an actual figure fight, because guess what? It's probably going to happen. It's already in the books for a potential future upload. So, I haven't seen it yet. Technically, you haven't seen it yet, because when I'm recording this, it hasn't happened. So, yay! All right. Thank you. Please leave your comments down below what you thought of this. Anything else I should take into consideration in these videos moving forward. And that's going to be about it. So I'd like to say thanks to all the patrons who have helped out for the month of November. Seriously, thank you so much for helping. It really does mean a lot. I think towards this end of the year, there's going to be a lot more stuff happening on Patreon. So if you're thinking about joining up, please do. We're going to look at some interesting things. Then end cards, so this way you can catch some more videos and click on other fun stuff, because I know folks like clicking and or tapping on stuff, okay? All right. Well, thank you again for watching, and I will catch y'all in the next video.